Hello, Lockdown Diaries, day 63, just back in the speed shop, just got the workshop made up now, set up, bit of a bike lift, needs a ramp, but get in there, just working on a postie, charging a Himalayan battery, which anybody who owns a Himalayan will know are absolutely terrible batteries and also very difficult to get in and out because they're blocked in by lots of cables, wires, and it just takes a bit of a jiggle to get out, but that's on charging now. Meanwhile, I just want to do a quick video on toolkits which come with the A2 bikes. I think there's an assumption that bikes generally come with toolkits which are useful, but I think most people by now will have realised that most new bikes come with toolkits that are completely rubbish and don't do half the jobs that you need to do. And I think if there's one task I would recommend before setting off on any trip is seeing what tools your standard toolkit comes with and what it doesn't, and then obviously filling in the blanks. I think the notable exception that a lot of toolkits don't have are the right tools to take out the wheels. Let's flip that around. And I've been out with riding with a guy on a Tiger 800, and he had a front puncture and we needed to get his front wheel out because he dented the rim, so we had to go and get a tube and a new tyre. And he assumed in his toolkit that he would have the right tool to get his front wheel out, but it didn't come with an axle key. There was no axle key in the toolkit, so we couldn't get his front wheel out. And an axle key is one of those tools which isn't overly specialist, but it's not something that everyone carries with them, or a roadside mechanic is not always going to have. Certainly not to that size. An axle key is essentially a huge Allen key which goes in those recessed threads that you get on bikes like the Tiger 800. So really that was a big gap in his toolkit, and had he not had other riders around him who could ferry and go and get the right tools, he would have been stranded there and would have had to call the recovery truck, and his trip would probably have been over. So it really is a lesson in looking at what you've got and what you've not got. So I was just going to go through the Himalayan toolkit, the 310 GS toolkit, KTM 390 toolkit, and the CRF 250 Rally toolkit, just to show you what's in there and what's not in there. Starting with the Himalayan toolkit, one of the reasons I like the Himalayan is because the toolkit isn't extensive, but it's got pretty much most things for every occasion. It should have a screwdriver in there as well, actually. Wait a minute. So that's pretty much it. What I like about it, so obviously you've got the spark plug, spanner, and then you've got that little spanner. But this is why I like the Himalayan toolkit, because that fits both the front wheel bolt and also the rear wheel. And I just think that simple piece of design or accidental design process means that you've got a very versatile, usable standard toolkit. You can change the air filter with it, you can take the tank off with it. Obviously you can't adjust the valves with it, you're going to need some feeler gauges and that, but I guess that's perfectly understandable that that's not going to come with that. But from a servicing point of view, getting the wheels out, changing the air filter, getting the tank off, you can do a lot of things with that standard Royal Enfield Himalayan toolkit. And so I actually think that's a 9 out of 10. Really, almost a 10 out of 10, because I don't really think it's missing anything. The GS toolkit, now this threw me. This was standard on this was under the seat of the 310 GS, and I think somebody has put the wrong toolkit in, because none of these tools fit anything on the 310 GS. So I think I've been missold on this occasion. I mean, that's a really extensive, nice toolkit. If you're going to set up a toolkit, that's pretty good. Rear shock adjuster, obviously pretty decent sized axle bolt spanner. What it's for I don't know, but it's a good toolkit, but it's not any good for the 310 GS. What I do know from owning GS, a GS 1200, they do come very light on tools. Basically just a tool to get the Torx bolts out of the panels, and also the funny sort of triangular oil cap key which you need on those GS 310s. So really the 310 GS toolkit, I don't think it's going to be much good, but this is certainly the wrong one. Moving on, the Honda toolkit, again, it's just, you know, it's a poor toolkit. Nothing in that to take out the axle bolts or release your axle bolts. A couple of Allen keys. You can do your chain tension with that, but unless you've set off with the right axle bolt, you're not going to be able to adjust your chain. A screwdriver for some plastics, and I'm a bit naive on that one. Somebody's going to tell me I'm thick and should know what that is, but to me, that's one of those things that you put to stop your gear lever bending out if you hit a twig on it. Correct me if I'm wrong. What else is that for? So really, fuel line clip and a few Allen keys. So not a great toolkit from Honda, and not a surprise really. I think they use a very generic toolkit in all their bikes. I remember testing an Africa Twin, and I seem to remember a very similar toolkit, which is a shame. You know, to me, Honda should be giving you a toolkit which suits that bike and allows you to do some work on it. Whereas what they give you is basically bit rubbish, you know, useless. Moving on to the KTM 390, I've had a look at what parts it's got. It's obviously far more extensive, and looking around it, you can do, like the Enfield, you can do most basic tasks with this. You've got an axle key to get the front wheel out. That does the rear. You've got plenty of screwdrivers to get the panels and other bits off. You've got a rear shock adjuster for preload. You've got a spark plug spanner. So I think, to me, that's a really comprehensive toolkit KTM's given you with the 390, and I think that deserves merit, because they've thought what you need, what it's going to give you, and I think you should be able to service your bike pretty much extensively, apart from valve checks and things like that, just as you can with the Royal Enfield kit. So 2 manufacturers so far of note, KTM and the Enfield on the end. Honda, poor, GS, poor. Just to come on to the CB500X, which I've got. Now, obviously, that's just going to take a standard. It's going to be a 500X kit in there, which I assume is going to be very similar to that one, the Honda for the CRF kit. What I did get with it were these Rally Raid tools, which just shows you how poor the manufacturers have got it. Really, this is a really well thought out set of tools. Can't be a lot of money to make, really, when you look at, you know, KTM are giving you that. There can't be much more money involved in making that as there is in making these, which you've got sockets on either end. Then you've also got the axle key, because it's on the front wheel of the CB500X you need an axle key, so that's that one. So essentially, in those two tools, you've got everything you need to get the front and rear wheel off, which you're not going to get in the standard toolkit. So I think that's a really nice piece of design. It's actually Rally Raid's own design, and you can buy it on their website. I think it's like 20 quid for the set or something like that. But for anyone travelling, to not have means to get the wheel out is eventually going to leave you unstuck. You know, you might be travelling with a tubeless tyre, and you might think, well, I've got the things to plug it with. But if you get a big tear in it and you need to take the wheel off and you need somebody to give you a lift to the tyre shop, if you can't get the wheels out, you're kind of stuck. Same with not having a centre stand. You know, to me, centre stands in a decent toolkit should be what every manufacturer gives you as standard, or at least as a notional option, instead of charging 300 quid for a centre stand and then giving you a lousy toolkit. So that's I think that's kind of interesting where we're at. KTM, Royal Enfield, very good. Honda, BMW, poor. And again, the aftermarket manufacturers and engineers who come up with solutions that really should be in every toolkit. So that's it. I thought that might be a bit of interest. So going to get some charge into that Royal Enfield battery. Hopefully that is going to come back to life, because it's not even priming the fuel pump or anything at the minute. Absolutely dead. That one, and then obviously the Postie bikes. Postie bikes can run, I think, without a battery. Obviously no indicators or anything like that, but they will start without a battery in and run without a battery. Yeah, primitive but reliable is what we need. So that's it. Over and out. Thanks, and thanks for joining me in the new workshop. So far, I've got a nozzle, these are, I don't know if anybody uses these, but these are the most essential, useful thing. As cheap as anything, a couple of quid, 3 quid or whatever. But just a cargo net, so if you're carrying luggage on the back, instead of things flapping around and falling off, just hook them over the back, and that's quite a nice way of securing anything. It won't provide structural strength. I wouldn't tie down a sleeping bag on the back of my bike with something like that. but to go over the top of things is a good way. So that's it. Cheers. Bye.